So, you're going to Walt Disney World, and you want to know how to get onto a ride. Well, there are two lines you can use. Number one, you can use the standby line. The standby line is what you think of when you think of a normal line. People, one after the other, stand waiting for their turn to be served one by one. There's an estimated wait time, normally updated throughout the day, to try to best show how long it takes to get through. Well, the other line is called a lightning lane line, and it's a little more complicated. So, the very first thing we need to know is there's an app. The app's called My Disney Experience. It's free, it's on smartphones, and you're going to need to use it for a lot of the things we're about to talk about. What do people do that don't have a smartphone? I don't know. So, on the My Disney Experience app, you'll be able to access something called Genie. Genie is a day planning feature that allows you to look at rides and suggest content and suggest things to do and silly things to partake in. Genie is different than Genie Plus. Genie Plus is a service that you can use to get in the lightning lane. Genie Plus costs money. How much money? That number changes literally every day. It has a minimum of $15. It has sold out sometimes. It's gone up to $32. Genie Plus, since it has sold out, you can purchase it at $12.01 every day of your vacation. You cannot purchase it in advance, and you have to buy it for your entire party if they're going to use it. Now, why would you buy it at 12:01 and not at 7 a.m. when you can make your first use? Because it has sold out before. So at 7 a.m., you can look at your options and pick your first line that you want to stand in for Genie Plus, and that is your lightning lane. Now, some things in there aren't going to be able to be chosen. Some attractions aren't lightning lane usable. These are the attractions here. You can only make one Genie Plus attraction choice at a time. You have to either wait till you get all the way to check-in or 2 hours after you make your first one. But that 2-hour time actually doesn't start at 7 a.m. if the park you're going to isn't open at 7 a.m. So it's 2 hours after the park opening, or 2 hours after you make the choice, or after you first step in. Then you can go back onto My Disney Experience and choose the next lightning lane that you want to have. There's also a window when your attraction time, it says a time you need to come back, but that window isn't exactly right. You can go about 5 minutes before or up to 20 minutes after. And that's how it works with the lightning lane. There are something called individual lightning lanes. Individual lightning lanes are not connected to lightning lanes at Genie Plus. You actually don't need to buy Genie Plus to use individual lightning lanes. They're on a couple different attractions, so there are actually 5 attractions that do use the individual lightning lane. Those attractions are Avatar Flight of Passage, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Tron Light Cycle something, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Once again, you can't get these through the Genie Plus, but you also don't need the Genie Plus to buy your lightning lanes. And each of these lightning lanes has its own individual price every day, but you look at it through My Disney Experience. Do you remember when I said that there's actually 2 lines you go through? That's not exactly true. There's a third thing, and it's called a virtual queue. And so with a virtual queue, and it only applies to 2 different rides. Those rides are Tron and Guardians of the Galaxy. The virtual queue is you go on My Disney Experience, and you click a button that puts you in a pretend line like this line. Now, there's 2 ways to get in. Actually, there's 3 ways to get in. So the first way is at 7 a.m. you can get on My Disney Experience. Remember, that's when you can make your first Genie Plus lightning lane. At 7 a.m. you can select to try to get on one of these virtual lines. And you don't have to be in the park because it's 7 a.m. and all the parks are closed. And then the next window to do it is at 1 p.m. And at the 1 p.m., you do need to be in the park that you're trying to get for. So, for example, you couldn't be in Animal Kingdom when you're trying to get Guardians of the Galaxy. You need to be in Epcot when you're trying to get Guardians of the Galaxy at 1 p.m. There's actually a third window, and that's at 6 p.m. And the 6 p.m. are for people who are staying in certain resorts when they have extra super magic hours or something. And so the resorts that are eligible are here. And so you kind of have 2 chances, but some people have 3 chances of when to use My Disney Experience to get in the virtual queue. And the virtual queue really is you show up and you just get in the regular line. You can't just walk up to the regular line. It's sort of a digital line before you get to the physical line. There's another way you can use the lightning lane that's not exactly a lightning lane. It's called rider swap, and this one actually is really cool. You don't need the My Disney Experience app. What it is you have a party, and let's say there's a little kid with the party that can't ride the ride but doesn't want to ride the ride. So you have the adults that do want to ride, they go and they wait in the standby line. And in the standby line, they go through it at normal speed and they get out. And after you've told the cast member, they go back and they stay with the kid while the person who waited gets to go through the lightning lane to get through it much quicker. So it's not waiting in two standby lines. And you can do that not through the app. You just have to tell a cast member, is what they call the employees. And so it's kind of like the lightning lane. It's kind of like standby. But not every ride can do it. You can't just do it on every ride. And so the rider swap lines that you can do, those are here. Okay, so I said there was the third one with the digital line. There's some rides that actually do have a physical third line, and those are called single riders, where it's not like married or single. There's just single riders where you are by yourself. These are rides you just go one at a time, and you fill up empty spots. So there's not a lot that have single rider. There's actually only 4. The 4 that have single rider lines are Rock and Roller Coaster, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, Test Track, and Expedition Everest. And so those you can go through just a single rider's line, and normally that's faster than waiting in the standby, and if you can't get a lightning lane or an individual lightning lane for them. If you're at all confused so far, let me point you to this Venn diagram. This simple Venn diagram shows you every sort of intricacy that you may see with all the way all these different rides interact. So you have some that have lightning lane but not single rider, and you have some that have an individual lightning lane and they definitely don't have single rider. And you see some that have no lightning lane whatsoever, and you can see it's just kind of obviously clear how to get on the ride in different ways with this graph. Now, there's also other ways to get on rides that are not My Disney Experience related. For example, there is Disney's accessibility services, DAS. Well, okay, so they're going through a thing right now, and what's happening is they're changing how they validate who needs disability lines, because some people can't wait in the standby line. They have physical disabilities that impede them from being able to stand in the line for a long time. And so they're able to wait somewhere else until they're called, and then they get to go through the lightning lane at what is projected to be the same time that the standby line went. But some people were abusing this, and they would say like, oh, I have tummy troubles, but they would just bring all their friends because you really only needed one person to have disability to be in the service. So they're taking all of that away. But then there was this big conversation about how disabilities don't all look the same. And so we can't judge people in the line based on what we think their disability is, because sometimes people have really debilitating disabilities that make it not visually apparent. So you're kind of like, ooh, are they cheating the system? So that's going through a major overhaul. In addition to DAS, you also have private tours. Private tours are really expensive, and so what you do is you have to buy your tickets already. So you just buy your tickets, and you have to also buy a private tour. Private tours go from about $450 to $900 an hour, and you have a 7-hour minimum. So that puts you in the ballpark of $3,150 to $6,000 for your entire day. You also have to buy theme park tickets for everybody in your party. And there's probably gratuity as well. And I don't know for sure, but I imagine with the tour, you also get to just go straight through the lightning lane. No My Disney Experience required. There's also a secret club, a secret organization at Walt Disney World called Club 33. It's actually all the Walt Disney properties. And there's really no information about it online, but they say things like you need to pay $30,000 a year even just to get like offered to do it. And then they're really secretive about it. I imagine with that kind of money, you can just go on any ride what you want, and you get unlimited lightning lanes. You don't have to worry about anything, but maybe not. Perhaps if you're in Club 33 and you're paying all this bazillions amount of dollars, you do have to still go through all the process and have My Disney Experience, but there's Club 33 as well. And that's simply how to get on a ride at Walt Disney World. Now, if I made this video a year ago, the information would be different. If I make this video a year from now, there's no way this stuff is still the same. They're talking about actively changing some of these things as we speak. And I just think it's a real shame that I really like Walt Disney World. I love going. I love bringing my kids. but it shouldn't take an associate's degree to understand how to get on a ride. And I think it is not a intentional design. It's really design of a lot of things smashed together. And that's tough. If this video was helpful at all, I hope so. I hope this video was helpful in some way. And maybe it cleared up something and you could send to other people to explain how they can too get on a ride at Walt Disney World.